Hi guys, welcome again to another episode of Why I Love Twin Peaks. Um, and I got my a friend here who's actually from the real Twin Peaks, as it were. He lives in the area where it was originally shot, a lot of the first season anyway, and the pilot mainly, and By Walk With Me. So I'd like to welcome him now. He's going to chat to us about all that. It's my Bob Antone. How are you, Bob?
Hey, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing
Good
all
to see
right.
you.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm doing good. So my first question, Bob, is I ask everyone this. When did you first discover Twin Peaks?
I first discovered Twin Peaks because I was aware they were filming in town. It was February of 1989. My parents owned a real estate office on the corner of Bendigo Boulevard and North Bend Way. And so, right across Kitty Corner from my parents' real estate office is the Marquee Cafe, now known as Tweed's Double R Diner. And it was February-ish, 1989, and I was actually wearing an Eraserhead t-shirt, and I was sitting there as a 15-year-old young man, and my dad says, "Hey, they're filming a movie across the street. You should go over and say hello." And I looked out the window and I was like, "Oh, wow." And I saw a crew pulling up, and it was the very first day of filming the pilot episode, and I was there, and it was amazing. And they ended up using the building across the street for an office. It's known as the Sunset Garage building, and it's a historical garage space. They used to sell Chrysler, and different cars out of there. Was a showroom and a ramp that would drive up all the way to the top. But Mark Frost, David Lynch, they used that as their office. And then my parents' office was also used as a casting check-in. So folks that were extras or people that were going to be involved in certain scenes would check in at the back of the real estate office, which was known as Snoqualmie Valley Property Management. The front of the office was the real estate, and then my dad had a property management, which was a second business in the back, and that's where they checked in. So I was familiar with David Lynch because I had seen Eraserhead in 1987, and I was a huge fan of David Lynch already. And Eraserhead, I had seen this 2 years before they came to my hometown to start uh, recording bits and pieces for Twin Peaks. We didn't know what it was, when they arrived, and I had no idea it was David Lynch. But I had worked at the North Bend movie theater as a projectionist. My best friend, his parents owned the North Bend theater, and so Harry and Helen Trostel owned the North Bend Theater in 1987 when I got my first job, and that's who introduced me to Eraserhead. And I remember watching that movie and just like, oh my gosh! And I'm an artist. I've always been very sensitive and very spiritually aware. When I watched that movie, it had a profound impact on me. And I remember walking around North Bend. This was in 1987, and I looked at the Sunset Garage building, and it reminded me of Eraserhead. There was a scene in the beginning of the film where it shows this industrial area and this building with brick and windows. And I said, wow, that looks exactly like Eraserhead. I said, in my mind, I said, I bet David Lynch would love this town and love that building. And what's so funny is 2 years later, indeed, they came and they did use that building and they did come to town and started filming Twin Peaks. The jail scenes were filmed up in that space as well. So the very familiar, scenes of, Bobby in jail and all that, and they're barking like a dog and all that fun stuff. That's the same building that I'm referring to, the Sunset Garage. So I was a fan of Lynch from before Twin Peaks, and it's kind of an unusual story because a lot of I don't know of any other fans. I'm not saying I'm special, but I'm special. I don't know of many other fans who were here, who were born and raised, because we've been here for about 100 years in the valley. I'm also very proud of Twin Peaks because it showcases the old mill in the opening credits, and that's where my grandfather worked as a lumber grader. My grandmother was a nurse at the Snoqualmie Falls Hospital, right near the mill. And my father, was born. He was born at that hospital. So when I see the opening credits of Twin Peaks, that's my heritage, man. That is my actual heritage. That's my family history. So it makes me very proud. And I think I was already a David Lynch fan, but then added to the fact that we knew that our town was going to become famous and it was going to be on TV. We were all anticipating the opening night. We were all watching the television, so I watched it from the very beginning. And from a local perspective, it was like, oh wow, let's see what they did with our hometown. Let's see how they portrayed us, and that kind of thing. That's really what we were all discussing here as locals, because it was a big deal. We were just like when they filmed Fargo. People in the Midwest, they're watching this going, wow. They depicted us with this strange accent and characters that are kind of over the top, that kind of thing. So for locals watching Twin Peaks, it was kind of amusing because we were like, wow, they really took our history and our character and sort of went over the top with it, exaggerated it in such a strange way, which I thought was super cool. So there's my short but long answer. Sorry about that.
No, I don't apologize. It's all interesting to me, all of it. And I dare say it's going to
Cool.
get more interesting as we go along, actually.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but you were saying about what drew David. I think he's very much, his insight into things, his
Hmm.
intuition, I think, about
Yeah.
places that he gets drawn to. I think that is, I think that's in him, and that's followed
Hmm.
him all through his life. I think pretty much. Uh, and so the area, Bob, of course, you know it well. You live in it.
Hmm.
You live and breathe in it every day.
Hmm.
Um, do you think the series, certainly when it's shot, you watch it on film and everything, do you think it depicts it in a very sort of natural way, even though there's stories and things that kind of
Hmm.
supernatural and sometimes and things, but do you think it kind of like shows the sort of the locations well and the kind of vibe of the town and everything like that?
Yeah, to answer your question, I would say the background shots, especially like the mountain, the waterfall, those on their own. If you photograph Mount Si or you photograph, the waterfall, Snoqualmie Falls, excuse me, you automatically get a feeling of a sense of place. Now, it wouldn't matter if you were a painter in the 1800s and you painted the falls or you painted Mount Si. It wouldn't matter if you were a writer and you came to the valley, Snoqualmie Valley, North Bend area in the 20s and were writing a novel that took place in the Snoqualmie Valley. It wouldn't matter if it was 500 years ago and you were a Native American person that made a pilgrimage, thousands of miles to this very, very special place. In all of those instances, the land itself is in itself very, very special. It doesn't need anyone to really frame it. It exists and has always existed and has always been a very powerful spiritual thing. And it's independent of the show. And so I always tell people, there are three glasses, three ways you can look at Twin Peaks. You can look at the mountains in the background. You can look at the falls from an indigenous point of view, and without even without ever seeing the show, as a native person, you're like, yeah, that is my culture. That is the spirit of the mountain. Those are my ancestors. That's my heritage. And you wouldn't have seen anything by Mark Frost or David Lynch, and that would have significance to you. Same thing with a longtime local. Let's say I was somebody who had never seen Twin Peaks to this day, and I had never heard of David Lynch. Let's just pretend. Well, I would still see the old mill. I would still see the mountain. I would still see the waterfall. I would still see the cafe as absolutely sacred to my heart and my heritage. With my logging heritage, we have a timber heritage here and the mill, and the timber industry. And then the third, point of view is people see through the lens of Twin Peaks. They put on the glasses of Twin Peaks and they look around and they see Agent Cooper, and they look around, they look at the mountain, and instead of just seeing the mountain and yeah, that's Mount Sinai, they also see a giant, and they see all this other stuff that was in the show. So there are multi layers, but we as people here can be independently identified on our own. We are a cultural force unto ourselves, like especially the Native community, but also like my heritage. We are a cultural force unto ourselves. And as far as ideas and where they come from, I've written so many things. I've written songs, stories. I've done so many paintings. I never have to have, and I'm not saying, this is a bad thing or a good thing, but I never have to use any Twin Peaks reference at all because of my own heritage that exists here, the stories that are rich and they go back centuries. I'm able to draw upon stories and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of stories because of our history here, our family history here. And I never have to, let's say, borrow, a character from the show. I never have to, you know what I mean? It's just like we have so much. It's in the soil, it's so rich. And so it makes sense that Mark Frost and David Lynch, those great artists, among many great artists who have come and visited here, would see the rich soil and say, wow, I want to plant a garden in this valley. They look at the earth and they're like, wow. And we're talking about the landscape, the feeling, the people, the culture, the legends. Of course, they saw a very fertile valley full of amazing things that they could draw upon, that they could amplify. But it pre-existed before the show, and something to be very proud of. As far as spirituality goes, um, David Lynch was very spiritual. I think Mark Frost is too, and all the people that worked on the show. They had some kind of abilities. Everybody did. And David Lynch is kind of the leader of it, and because of his meditation practices, it really doesn't matter if you're rich or poor or famous or not famous or worked on the show or didn't work on the show. I think what David Lynch, what he was inspired by is uh, commonality and collective consciousness, where we are all connected, and the spirit of love and compassion, right? More importantly, the spirit of love and compassion. And so I think that love and compassion came through his work and then his collaboration with all of those talented folks. It amplified that feeling. And so I believe all over the earth, in combination with this beautiful, sacred, healing place that's been a place of healing for thousands and thousands of years, this place is a spiritual place. In combination with that and his meditation and his connection with the collective consciousness and his compassion as a human being, all of that just came through and broadcast all over the world, and people could feel it, and they're like, wow, what am I feeling here? And the other thing I like to say too is I can explain my own point of view, but it's going to be different for everybody. And I don't want to over explain Twin Peaks. I want to leave it in honor of Lynch. I just want to leave it kind of mysterious. And to over explain it, you can kind of ruin it. And I think he also oftentimes said that to fans. He's like, yeah, just leave it a mystery. He didn't want everybody to try to pick it apart too much. So, but those are my, just right off the top of my head, those are my feelings and thoughts, about Twin Peaks and why I'm a fan. So there you go.
Oh, very good. Um, yeah, I agree with you, Bob, about that. Like it shouldn't be too dissected. I think some people
Mhm.
some people do really d dive incredibly deep into it and do like
Mhm.
4 or 5 hour. I've heard about this. I couldn't actually sit through the whole thing, but there was a guy that did about 4 or 5 hour video uh, um, about Twin Peaks and exclaiming that he knew all the answers.
Oh
And
yeah. Mhm.
I somehow doubt that you would know all the answers, to be honest with you. That, this is the definitive, video, whatever it was that he brought out.
Yeah,
And
I saw that.
yeah, um, but I don't think you can know all the answers. Um,
Hmm.
you can have a lot of theories, certainly, and we all do, don't we? You get a bunch of fans together, everyone's theorizing about something. I think it meant that, or what if, and all that kind of thing. But that's just fun that fans do. That's what that kind of bonds us in a sense. And we've been doing that ever since it first came out. People are still um, theorizing about what the hell did that mean, and this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
And we still don't know, and that's good. You know, um, it's good that we're still talking like that 30 odd years on, and no one knows completely what the story's about. Um, so I agree with you, Bob, on that. Um, but just getting on to uh, were there particular characters, though, Bob, in the series or storylines that particularly drew you in, that you kind of
Hmm.
connected with, or with it?
Yeah, yeah. Um, well, I've been on other podcasts and shows talking about characters in the show relating to real life people that really live here and exist here. Sort of a parallel, almost doppelganger, study, if you will. So it's fun, and I've gone down lists of all the characters in the show. My wife and I have gone out and said, okay, well, who was Agent Cooper and who was Laura? And we take the character in the show and we match it to somebody that actually lived and worked and died here in the valley as part of our history. And it's kind of like life imitating art, art imitating life. And I call the term cultural clairvoyance. So, cultural clairvoyance is like a book, a film, any kind of expression, artistic expression that has a sense of remote viewing or clairvoyance. And so it's past, present, and future. So, in a lot of the scenes, I'll give you a very specific one that is really funny. In season three, there's a line about the zebras got out again, and I mean, this is a random line. Okay, this is the phenomenon I'm talking about, which is so mysterious. It's almost like, did someone, write this, the situation into our universe somehow? I don't know. But in real life, we had a truck that was going down Interstate 90 with a horse trailer that had four zebras in it. This is after the season 3 episode aired. And those zebras kicked their way out of the back and they ran out and they escaped and they were running loose all over the hillside in the real Twin Peaks. So it's very strange. Like, why would David Lynch, Mark Frost, or whoever came up with that line, the zebras are out again, just randomly, and everybody like, oh, okay, why did he mention zebras? And then in real life, in our real Twin Peaks, zebras actually escaped, and that is just so mind-blowingly awesome. You know what I mean? And there's a ton of that stuff. There's a ton of that really fun stuff. So yeah, anyway, that's one. I like the zebra line. Zebras.
That's a good one. I like that. That's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a
Bloody hell, man.
lot too. There's a
Yeah,
lot.
I
Yeah.
bet there's a lot. Yeah, I bet there's an awful lot of
Yeah.
uh, you know, sort of random things, or maybe they're not random. They're meant to be. I
Yeah.
don't know. Kind of things
So
happen.
they
I don't know if the right word is it serendipity I'm thinking of, or the other. I'm not sure that I got the right word there, but
yeah.
you know, um,
Well, my theory, and again, I don't want to over explain it, but my theory is that because David Lynch, he practiced meditation every day, that he had some very special abilities of seeing the universe, past, present, and future. Because there are theories that in certain states of consciousness that you go there every day, you begin to arrive at a place where past, present, and future are happening simultaneously. Now, if you are receiving ideas from that location of past, present, and future, then most likely you're going to receive something that might not have happened yet. You're seeing it in the future, or you're maybe seeing something that happened way back in the past that you've never read about, and there'd be no way that you could know that. But you're getting information, or you could be receiving information about somebody right now, over a distance, thousands of miles away. Something is happening, and somehow you're able to see that. That's called remote viewing, and that's clairvoyance. And so that's why I call it cultural clairvoyance. So David Lynch, we all know he was gifted. And so he may have, in altered states of consciousness, seen our town here. This is my theory. I don't know if anybody else talks like this, but as a local, I can confidently say that there are so many serendipitous moments, just like the zebras, that it makes you go, very interesting. It's fun. I like it. It's a lot of fun.
You could be onto something there, Bob. Um, because I don't
Possible,
know.
yeah.
I mean, I think he was very in tune with his spiritual side, wasn't he? I mean, of
Oh
course
yeah.
he did the meditation for years. He never missed one.
Hmm.
Most of his life. Well, not all of his life, but I mean, certainly a good 40 years, I think. And he would dive down for what he called diving for ideas and things like fishing.
Yeah.
He used things sort of words like that to explain it. So I think he was always kind of like connected with the other realms maybe, and I think he could probably be very open to those things. Um, uh, um, so um, when they were filming Fire Walk with Me there, they did some filming
Hmm.
there, didn't they? Um,
Oh yeah. A lot.
were
Yeah.
you did you see much of that going on?
Oh
Or
yeah,
what? Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So just to be clear, I was on the set, in season one, the pilot, I was there. I
yeah.
watched, I was there also there for Firewalk with Me. So I was definitely on the set, Firewalk with Me. And I can tell you some famous scenes that I was watching while it was really cool to actually say that I was there at that actual scene. It's pretty exciting actually. And then also season three, which was so cool because we just live right here and it's like our neighborhood. So season three, there were so many film sites that we drove by or we stopped and we watched, and I can go into some detail. So do you want me to start with Firewalk with Me, and tell you a few of the scenes that we observed, or?
Oh, sure. And then if you want to speak a
Okay.
little bit about season three after that, if you like, as well.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, what
Yeah,
you may have
sure.
seen there. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. So the difference between, first of all, the first and foremost difference between watching on the set in Fire Walk with Me and season three is that in Fire Walk with Me times, there were no smartphones. So people couldn't record and take photos and then, throw that up on their social media and get in trouble. But during season three and the popularity of Twin Peaks, there was a lot of troublemakers. There were a lot of troublemakers who unfortunately, took pictures and put it on their, and it really upset the crew because, and David Lynch was like, I don't want my secrets out before the thing, comes out and all that. So, so we were more welcome to stand around and watch, in 1991. And I remember very specifically I was on the set when Leland and Laura are driving, and the one armed man comes around the back of them and is shouting and revving his engine, and he's driving the truck, and he's like, ah! And they're screaming at each other. And then Laura and, Leland behind the wheel, they drive into Moe's motor. I was standing right there and we watched that whole thing. I mean, that was so exciting to be able to watch that. And he's standing there and he's just like fucking losing his mind, and they're parked at Moe's motor and we watched all of that. And my buddy at the time, he says, Hey, David, between takes, he goes, You're my favorite director. He yelled across the street. David turned around and he says, Hey, thank you. It was just a sweet moment. And yeah, and that was a really awesome place to see, that whole scene. I was also there in the Fat Trout trailer park when Agent Cooper, is looking around and they see the trailer, and they're investigating, and they see the power lines, and so they go and visit Dean. What's his name? Dean Stan. Oh God, I can't remember his name. Anyway, they visit the
Ha-
old man, the manager.
Harry
Yeah.
Dean Stanton.
Thank
Harry
you, thank
Dean.
you. Yeah, yeah. They
Yeah.
go visit him, and I was there in the area. We
Did
were
you
watching
get
that.
if you don't mind me asking, did you get to actually speak to him at all?
I Harry Dean or David
Yeah.
Lynch?
Oh, either Harry Dean or
I got
yeah.
to meet David Lynch, yeah, but I never got to speak to Harry Dean Stanton. No,
Ah, yeah, yeah.
but I
That would have
did
been
I
nice.
did meet
Yeah.
I did meet David Lynch. That was
Yeah.
nice, and I'll tell you that
Yeah, I bet it
story.
was.
Um, so then there's the famous scene where Mrs. Tremond, is that her name? Tremond, and then the little boy with the mask, and they're right there at the parking lot of the diner, and they come walking across and that kind of thing. I don't know if you know that scene I'm talking about, but I was there, and I remember I had come back from school. I was in high school at the time. I was 17, and I was like, "Holy crap, this is so cool!" So me and my friends were standing on the corner, and we're just standing there, and he didn't kick anybody out. It was like all these high school kids, and we were just we were just on the set, man. It was awesome. And then Heidi, the giggling waitress, Heidi. I've actually met her uh, since then, recently, because I'm in a little film with her and James Gruxini, who played Deputy Jesse in season 3, and he's making a film. And so, but Heidi, I met her when I was 17. And so what happened was we were at the Marquee Cafe, Tweed's Cafe, the Double R Diner, on the set for the Fire Walk with Me. I had dressed up. I was wearing a straw hat with a peacock feather. I had a little clock in my pocket that I wound up. It was one of those old-fashioned clocks, and it was ticking in my pocket, and it was a big lump in my pants. I was really artsy. I was really out there, but everybody was like, "Oh wow, David must have got this guy or something." They assumed that I was part of the thing, but I was just walking around. And so Heidi, she offered me a piece of pizza. It was like break time for all the crew. And I think she remembers that too. And she's like, "Are you hungry?" Because she could tell I was a little out there. She thought maybe I was a homeless kid or something. I don't know. I'm just kidding. But they sectioned it off because so many people were coming in out of Seattle and bystanders. And so they sectioned it off, and they had security guards, and it was just the actors, David Lynch, and for some reason, I got included in that. I was like, "Oh, cool!" And so I was this 17-year-old kid. And I was so excited because I was in the inner circle with all the actors, and they were eating pizza. And then everybody else was like, people recognized me, like, "Bob, what are you doing in there?" My classmates are like, "Bob, what the hell are you doing in there?" They were kind of jealous, or they were giving me a hard time, and it was fun. But and then the lady, I'm trying to remember her name. I'm having trouble remembering names right now. But anyway, I got some compliments on my hat. I remember getting compliments that they liked my outfit, and yeah, so that was fun. And I remember standing on the corner on that beautiful day earlier before Heidi offered me, dinner, and I remember watching David Lynch inside the cafe, and I remember just like staring at him, and he was staring into the corner. And this was between takes, and he was staring into the corner, and it was like he was just staring motionless, I swear, for 5 minutes. And so I'm assuming, and I don't know because I never asked him about that, but I'm assuming that he was meditating and he was trying to get ideas for the next scene or whatever. But he just was staring motionless into the corner, and I could see it through the glass, and I was like, "Oh, that's so cool." And so I just I was so into it, dude. Like, so I mean, I was staring at him as he was staring into the corner. I mean, come on, that's pretty badass. That was awesome. So, yeah, man. But that was Fire Walk with Me. Yeah, those are some major scenes. The other major scene I was at was when Leland is at the Mount Si Motel, and he comes around the corner and he chickens out and he gives the money back. I chickened out. I'm out of here because he sees his daughter in the room, room 6. And then the little boy comes out with the mask on, and you hear Black Dog runs at night, Black Dog runs at night. So me and my friends were hanging out, and that's just right out the window here. So I'm literally pointing right now. My finger is pointing right at that sign where that scene took place. Literally a 3-minute walk. I'm literally just pointing right at it. I could right now walk out of my house, and in 3 minutes, I could be standing at room 6, where Laura Palmer was, and where Leland was, and room 8 from season 3. So, and I can see the sign right now. I don't think you can see it, but I can see the Mount Side Motel sign right now. So that's my neighborhood. There you go.
That's awesome. That's great.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, love it. I love all that. Yeah. Um, it's
I can
it.
talk, so you get me
Oh,
started and I can talk. I'm sorry.
yeah. I mean, I mean, you know, I'm drawn. I feel a spiritual. You know, I'm
Yeah.
drawn to it. That I'm drawn to your town. I'm drawn to that world.
Uh-huh.
I've never been. Um, but I feel something. That I feel I should go there at some point.
Sure.
I feel the need to soak in that atmosphere, and that you know at the falls there, and things like that.
Sure.
It would just be really something just to be able to stand there, going quiet contemplation, take it all in,
Yeah.
with not too many people around, maybe not on touristy kind of periods, and just have that time for a while,
Yeah.
an hour or so just to myself, and it'd just be incredible.
I think that's great. And I,
Yeah,
I want I
yeah,
want you to have that come true for yourself. I think that would be wonderful.
yeah.
That'd be great. So
I'd love to do that. Yeah.
yeah,
Even if it's
yeah.
only once in my life, Bob, it would just be wonderful just to go there and take it all in, see as many places as possible around the area and
Absolutely.
it'd be great. And obviously, I have to have some cherry pie and coffee. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a dumb thing. Yeah.
It's pretty good too. I will say
Yeah.
the food at the Marti, I always call it the Marti, and forgive me for
Yeah.
saying it because
No, no,
I
no,
grew up
don't.
and it was
Yeah.
called the Marti.
Yeah.
And we're also friends with Kyle Tweed, and it was Tweeds for a while, but I
Yeah.
prefer the Marti Cafe. That's just my preference. But anyway, their food over there at the Double R Diner has improved greatly, and it's good. It's decent. And there was a while there where I don't know. Maybe it was before the current ownership bought it, but I think it was the last owner. Um, the food just kind of, for the locals, it kind of went downhill. But these current owners, they worked their tails off, and they got some really good food in there now. They've really improved their food. It's good. So I would recommend that, and anything else on the menu. They're a great place to go. So we go every once in a while as a family. It's fun. Me and my wife and my kids, we go there. We have grandkids too, believe it or not. I'm a grandpa. So yeah, it's fun. So what
Wow,
about your
congratulations.
spirit?
Yeah, on that one.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you very much. Yeah, I'm very,
Yeah.
very proud of my family. Yep. What about
Yes.
your spiritual path? Like, and I don't want to get too personal, but like, what is your personal spiritual following or follow? Like, what do you follow? Are you Christian? Are you Buddhist? Are you atheist? Are you Hindu? Like, what do you identify with?
Oh, I see. Well, not now, I'm not, but when I was young, when I was a kid, living at home with my
Hmm.
parents and my schooling and everything was Roman Catholic.
Oh, okay.
That was my upbringing. Uh, um, when I left home and went into the big wide world and everything, um, I didn't, I wasn't really a churchgoer then. Um, I just went off in a different path, and I didn't really have any religious sort of you know stance, as it were, or anything like that. I do believe there is the only thing I would say, Bob, is I do believe there is a higher something,
Hmm.
a higher power maybe. As to what that is, I don't know. Um, and something is governing the universe, I think. Um, so I suppose that's my spiritual side of things, but no particular religion or faith any
Okay.
anymore. Yeah.
Right.
But I'm interested in those things. I do. I'm interested. If I speak to someone, I've got friends who are Muslims, and
Hmm.
uh, and I'm always interested in their their fasting and the Ramadan thing they do, and they fast for a month,
Yeah.
things like
Yeah.
that. Every year there's some. So they just, I try to understand what compels them to do that. You know.
Hmm.
So I'm interested in other cultures and other religions, but I'm not particularly a follower of any. Yeah. But I'm open
That's
to
cool.
listening to people. Yeah. You know,
Yes.
as long
So
as
if you
as
were to
long as
ask
it
me, uh-huh.
as long as it's not the only thing I don't like very much is and we get it in our local town. We get people standing on a box preaching to the public, the general
Oh
public.
yeah,
And
sure.
that irks me a bit, I have to be honest. Um, because you can't shut that off. You're sitting there having a coffee or something, and they're preaching about so and so and so and so. And if you, I know there's freedom of speech, Bob, but I do think that also there's no reason why you can't just go, just do your own thing, at, pray in your own, in your own environment, go to church, so on and so on. Um, but standing there with a microphone, um, pre, you know, um, it's very hard for me to explain. Um, sort
Can I
of,
try to explain it?
yeah, please, yeah, yeah. It's difficult for me.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
it's human nature that whenever you, and there's a lot of religious texts in many world religions about this. But when you elevate yourself, there's a thing about the human ego. Like when you stand up on a pulpit and you're preaching down, oftentimes, you're pointing a finger at them, but there's three other fingers pointing right back at you. The tendency is that when you make a declaration, you uncover hypocrisy or something ironic about that. And so oftentimes the people that preach the loudest and stand up and have all the answers usually are the ones that are the most crooked. And it's not always like that, but oftentimes it is. And I think that might be what turns you off is because time and time again we hear about spiritual leaders, and it doesn't matter what faith. You hear about it in the Mormon faith, you hear about it even like Buddhist monks, you hear about abuse in the Catholic Church, of course. You hear about preachers that are caught in a hotel room and they're snorting cocaine off a prostitute's ass. Sorry, but you know what I mean, they're just doing horrible things, and then every Sunday they're preaching. So the human condition is one of balance, and I think that we all are looking for peace and balance. And so none of us are perfect. We all have a shadow side, and this brings it back to Twin Peaks. It's definitely the truth that we have a doppelganger. We have a shadow self of ourselves. Every one of us does. Every one of us has an evil counterpart. Dark thoughts, dark things. And so I guess life is about merging those two together. For me, it makes sense that, and it's like in season three, Cooper and Mr. C and all those different parts of himself come together into one person, and he's completely activated as the good Cooper and also the evil Mr. C, and he's now this complete human being. And I think it symbolizes all of us how we are. So people that look down and say those devils down there, unfortunately, what happens is we're all kind of somewhat part of that realm. We all have a little bit of a devil in us. We do, and that's just the truth. And I think that's part of the truth of what you're saying, why that annoys you. Because, yeah, those people that are preaching, I mean, it's good. Preaching love, preaching compassion. Absolutely, it's great. But oftentimes, those folks are contradicting themselves. Not always, like I said. There are some very, very beautiful spiritual people, rabbis and imams and people that are just absolutely genuine. I like our new pope, by the way. I think our new pope, the pope of the Catholic Church, is a really good guy. Makes me feel good, and you can just tell by people's words. And I think you can lead from your heart and be a real person and a real spiritual leader, and you can actually be authentic. I think it's possible, and there are a lot of people that do. But some of those street side preachers, they're not always honest. They're kind of grifters in a way. Some of them are collecting money. Some of them are, and it's just like, come on, get out of here. So that does that answer for you as well? Do you feel that way?
I do. Yeah,
Okay,
that does resonate.
all of us. And my grandfather, my grandparents who lived in this house used to say that. By the way, my grandparents were very Roman Catholic, absolutely, 100%. My uncle, who was born here, he's a priest. He's a Catholic priest. So very Catholic. That's my background anyway, culturally. But he used to say, my grandpa especially used to say that all human beings are spiritually hungry and that they look for, we all naturally look for answers and we are all hungry for answers. And you could tie this back to Twin Peaks because honestly, folks that have been disenchanted with Christianity or other religions, maybe they were raised Muslim or whatever, and a lot of folks find comfort in spirituality in Twin Peaks. They literally find a religious experience, and that's very true for a lot of people. So we have to be understanding that all human beings, no matter if they're Jehovah's Witness or some hellfire preaching guy on the street corner, we're all human and we're all looking for answers. We're all in the same plane of existence. We're going to deal with our mortality one day, and it doesn't matter, like I said, rich or poor, famous, not famous, whatever. We all die. We all turn to ashes, and we're all struggling with the same questions of life and death, all of us. So if we can think of that and have a little compassion, I have compassion for people that come here. There's people that make pilgrimages to my town because of Twin Peaks in kind of a religious way. And I'm very compassionate. I could easily, yeah, I'm from here, God damn it, and I've been that way in the past. I admit it. I've been, because this town, I grew up when it was a very closed off, redneck logging town. People were go back to California, God damn it, stuff like that, right? So I grew up in that culture, and it's easy to feel that way, think that way. But as I've matured and gotten older, I have more compassion because I understand that folks that just want to feel connected to this beautiful healing light, whatever they're experiencing, whatever it is, in Lynch's work, Mark Frost, David Lynch's work, whatever they're feeling, this healing light, they want to come and experience it here. And so I understand that I'm compassionate. So in the same way, when a Jehovah's Witness comes to the door, as long as they're not like, being too aggressive, I'm very kind. And I actually like Mormon folks a lot, and I invite them in. And sometimes as a joke, I'll offer them a cup of coffee as a joke. But they sometimes they laugh, sometimes they don't. But we always invite them in and we talk. I like talking with these folks, all different religions. So I mean, we have experience, and I could go down. I could tell you 100 stories about all these different religious community leaders we've worked with and cultures and you know all the Hmong Native American ceremony. I mean, we've done so many things. So we've even been to the synagogue. I've been to I've actually gone to a mosque before, and yeah, so Buddhist temples, and yeah, we've got a lot of experience. But yeah, no, I just think that we all have to just realize that each one of us has to face our shadow self. That's really what it is. We just have to face our shit. We just really have to deal with it. Because everybody has trauma, everybody has things that they're ashamed of, everybody has a dark side. And I feel like I am now at a point where I can just say, hey, I feel like a complete human being. I know who I am. I know why I'm here. I know what I'm going to do. And I love who I am and I love what I'm going to do. And I submit myself to that spirit and I submit myself to God, and the Holy Spirit. And I submit myself. And I'm at that point in my life and I don't need to pretend or fake anything. I am just who I am and I love who I am. And so every day we wake up and we just try to make our community a wonderful place to be. And I'm a music teacher, so we've got kids and families that come through the front door every day. And every day I'm teaching music. I'm teaching music, and what a wonderful thing to do. And I never get tired of my job. Well, sometimes I get tired of my job. Anyway, but at the most part, 90% of the time, I love my job. I love my job. So that's where I'm coming from in the real Twin Peaks. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else to say, but this is a good conversation. I definitely like it a lot. Thank you so much for having me on here, Frank.
Not
It's
at
been a
all,
lot of
not at
fun.
all, Bob.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been interesting to get a different get a different angle on it all, because I've not really spoken like this to any of my guests really, not kind of talking about the as you say, the different beliefs and the religions that kind of come into it. We never really veered off in that direction before. Um,
Hmm.
but I do think you're right though. I think it is for many people. I've heard this from fans that have been over there and visited, uh,
Hmm.
and have often said, it's like a religious experience. I've often heard that said.
Hmm.
They've described it like that. Um, Now whether they're coming from a religious, their own religious beliefs, or whether they just mean that a generalized word for it, religious experience, like much like a spiritual experience. I don't know, but uh, um, whatever happened, I think it was very profound for them, you know.
Yep.
Um, and I have a feeling that I'd be the same. It would be a spiritual experience for me. It would be an overwhelming experience, probably.
Hmm.
Um, I dare say if I was standing there now at the falls and just listening to the sound of the water and everything, and
Yeah.
I think I would probably be overwhelmed with emotion. I'd imagine it probably would get me like that, you know.
Well, I'll tell
Uh,
you one more story, and then
yeah,
we're gonna go to lunch. But I'm gonna tell you
sure.
one more
Yeah,
story, okay?
yeah.
And this is so obviously this is another synchronicity that I
Okay.
can't explain. But
Yeah.
I told you my story about Eraserhead,
Oh
and
yeah.
I was
Yeah.
already a fan and all that stuff. But see, here's the thing: my birthday is January 15th. That's the day. That's the morning that David Lynch passed away and crossed over. It was my birthday. I mean, and it's like that is just incredible, right? And so 3 days later, on the same year in 2025, on January 18th, I did a performance along with my bandmates in the space upstairs at the Sunset Garage. And we did a live album in front of an audience of about 70, 80 people. About 80 people bought tickets to this private show, and they got to watch us record a live album for 3 hours. And it was amazing. It was awesome. But so right before the show, I was downstairs and I had to be the doorman because we didn't have enough people to volunteer. So I'm the lead singer of the band and all that, but I was also the doorman. My wife was just up the stairs checking people in, checking ID. But here, just right across the street from that doorway, is the David Lynch Memorial. Like literally, it's just, I mean, 50 feet away is the flowers on the corner and the spot where I met David Lynch. That's right there, right outside the door. Right outside the door, 50 feet away, is the cafe, right? And so I'm at the door, I'm the doorman, and I remember just feeling this warm, warm, loving feeling that just came over me, and I became aware that there was someone standing with me, and I felt like it was a man, and I felt like wow, it felt like a male presence. It felt like a spirit of a man, and but just the most loving, warm feeling I've ever felt, like just so wonderful. And I remember hearing a voice saying, it'll be a great show tonight. You're going to knock them dead, or, something like that. Don't worry, everything's going to be great. And I was like, wow. And I got so calm. It was like an angel from heaven talking to me. So I went upstairs and we started the show. And sure enough, we recorded it live. And it was like the perfect storm in a good way. And the album came out, last year, and it was just beautiful, beautiful. And so in retrospect, I believe it was David Lynch's spirit. And it would make sense, my friend, if you were David Lynch, right? And the epitome of your career is on that corner there, and you have this beautiful, testimony, all these people leaving flowers and notes for you. And I mean, that's where your identity is. Like Twin Peaks is like, everybody thinks David Lynch Twin Peaks. Like that's like the biggest thing he's known for, pretty much. It would make sense that if you were a spirit and you were hanging around watching people, you would be hanging around that corner. And especially in the building where you and Mark Frost, in 1989, you used that building as, an office space. So it would make sense that 3 days after his death, I'm sitting there and I could feel his presence. And he was very kind, and he just said, "Dude, you're gonna knock him dead. Good job, kid." That kind of thing. And that's kind of my final story. But yeah, I believe he was haunting the area there. He was visiting, and I'm sure he went to Bob's Big Boy. I'm wearing Bob's Big Boy hat right now. I got this at the Bob's Big Boy in Los Angeles, in Burbank, where he used to hang out. I'm sure he went there and visited Bob's Burbank, and wherever he was floating around. But for that night on January 18th, he visited me at the bottom of the stairs, right across the street there from the Marti, the Double R Diner. And yeah, he gave me great encouragement. And so that recording is historical, and very proud of that live album. Everything was 100% live. All we did was just mix and EQ and then released it, you know. But everything was performed absolutely 100% live, and oh, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful album. I'm so proud of it. If anybody's interested in that, you can go on Bandcamp, and you can look up Tinkham Road. So Tinkham Road, Tinkham Road, which is the local exit here near North Bend. And the name of the album is Live at the Sunset Garage, and it's dedicated to David Lynch. The whole album is dedicated to David Lynch, and it was recorded 3 days after his death. And so I would recommend people go on and find that. Also, I'm making little music videos. So on social media, I'm making my own little art films. I always have, made little art films for many years. I went to Cornish College of the Arts, and I used to do video art and, make little strange films. And so I'm making these little art videos. They're almost retro MTV, like it reminds you of the 90s, MTV in the 90s. And I'm using a lot of like VCR effects and, grainy look that looks vintage, from no AI at all. This is all raw organic stuff. But I'm making little music videos, and I'm putting those on social media of all the little songs. But I wanted to share that because I felt like David Lynch, he was encouraging me from the grave or from beyond. And yeah, I had met him across the street there, right there where those flowers were. That's where I had met him. So right where they had the memorial with all the flowers, right in that corner of the cafe. It's just amazing. And just the fact that building was the building I saw and said, "Oh, I bet David Lynch would love North Bend." I mean, all these things are just serendipitous. It's like crazy. And the fact I was wearing an Eraserhead T-shirt the very first day of filming the pilot. I feel like I have a voice, and there's a reason that I'm going to speak, to people. I feel like there was a reason, and I have a reason to share my heart and my ideas. And I'm maybe chosen or marked in that way. I'm not saying I'm better than anyone. I'm just saying that I was chosen or marked to speak. I was meant to speak, just like I'm speaking to you, and to inspire other people on a spiritual, when we're talking about spirituality, I feel like I was meant to say these things, and I was marked and I was chosen, and I knew it from a young kid. I just knew it. And when I saw Razorhead, I just knew what I was supposed to do. I knew where my life was going to go. I knew what I was supposed to do in the future. So, but that's as far as I think I can go today. So I don't know. You got any other questions for me or any comments or?
Well, first thing that I'm going to say is I will put a link on the description under this
Oh,
video
okay.
for your
Oh,
band, um,
thank you.
because I think
Yeah.
people should check it out. I've listened to an awful lot of your stuff, as you know. You sent me a few links and things before, Bob,
Yeah.
in Messenger and things. So I've seen a few of your videos and some of the songs of Kinkham Road, and really enjoyed it. And some of your solo stuff as well. You playing piano or guitar and things like that, or violin. You know,
Hmm.
it's a multi. Bob's a multi instrumentalist as well. It's amazing how many instruments he can play. Um, and I really did it. I really enjoyed the album, the studio album you did. You know, it was brilliant. Um, so I recommend you guys have a listen to that. I think you'll really like it. You know, um, and there's one final question, Bob, before you go, which
Sure.
I always ask people on here, to sort of close this thing before we say goodbye to each other. Um, why do you love Twin Peaks?
Hmm. I think the reason I love Twin Peaks is it is connected to my life and purpose. The reason I love Twin Peaks is it is connected to because it is connected to my life and purpose. That's it.
That's 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 short and succinct. Absolutely, Bob. You know, that's perfect, man. Yeah.
Thank you.
Some people give really long answers. Some just give, but you I've known some people to give about a 5 or 6 minute answer to that question, but I didn't know what to expect. Whenever I ask it, I never know what to expect. It could be really, if yours was really quick, but I again, I know you want to eat, so there's probably a good reason why you were going quickly there. Your motivation.
Well, also I think that what I said before, just
Yes,
before that question, it kind of answered it in a long
it
way.
did. It did in a way. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
right.
so that's
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
I'd be basically repeating what I kind of
yeah,
said
yeah.
before.
That's true.
But
But
it's been
I
a lot
always
of
sort of
fun,
wrap
man.
it. I always sort of wrap it up with that question. So that's
Yeah.
why it sort of like bookends it, you know. So yeah,
Oh,
but
that's excellent.
um, but it's been great talking to you, Bob. I really appreciate your time today. It's been wonderful insights, and you took me down a different path, which is no bad thing. Talking about, different religious aspects and more
Yeah.
deeper, looking into it, deeper than I normally would, perhaps, Um, but that's good. I like that. Um, so thank you for your insights and
Yeah.
your lovely words and stories. It's been wonderful to hear. And please give my best to. And that's another thing. Just before we go, um, an amazing Twin Peaks connection here, right? Which when I first got to know you, right, I thought this is just how the hell it just seemed perfect, right? We've got Bob here, right? And Bob's wife is Laura. So you got you got Laura and Bob from, I mean, from Twin Peaks. It's just unbelievable.
And on
Yeah,
top of that, buddy, on top of
yeah,
that, we have a little black dog. Okay.
yeah.
Now, our little black dog, he runs at night. He does run at night. And he does run down to that cafe or down to that motel. No kidding. In real
Really?
life, our dog,
Oh
and they
wow.
know him at the motel. They know our
Yeah,
dog.
yeah.
And so we really are Bob and Laura with the little black dog that
Well, that
runs at
runs
night. And we
that.
really live here in Twin Peaks.
You can't-
Isn't that amazing?
It is unbelievable. Let's say all the stars are aligned, as they say. I think that's the
that
expression they
that's
use.
what I'm
It's
saying is like
crazy, isn't
I
it?
get
Yeah.
I've gotten
Yeah.
frustrated before because I try to explain this and you were very gracious to listen and to give me a platform to explain this. But
Oh, not at all. No.
I have gotten frustrated before because I've tried to explain like I feel chosen. I feel like I have something to say because of all these synchronicities. And I think there's something to it. But again, when I speak about it, I don't want people to think that I'm talking down to them or that I feel like I'm superior or anything like that. It's just like, this is my life, man. This is what happened. And I can't explain it, but here I am and I have something to tell you. And I'm not ashamed of that anymore, you know. But I really appreciate you giving me a chance to come on here and tell my story. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. It's been great to hang out with you, but Bob, it was long overdue, you know. So it's been nice to talk to you in this way. Um, and
Yeah,
thank you very much, and give my regards to Laura too, please,
I will. If
and
you
your
ever come
family.
this way, we'll if you ever come down this way, we'll show you around, of course. We uh we
Oh,
have all
that'd be
kinds of international friends that come to town and people from France and people from Denmark and people from, England, parts of England, and they'll get our number, get a hold of us, send us an email, and we end up showing them around. So you would be no different if you arrived here and let us know that you were in town. We would give you the royal tour. We would we would
oh,
drive you around, no problem. So
fantastic.
let us know. We'll even pick you up from the airport. We do that for people.
Oh, wow.
So we'll pick you up from the airport, and we'll drive you around, and we'll just happen to drive by about 20 Twin Peaks sites, on the way to and from. We'll just happen to
Perfect.
drive by. So,
My head will be turning constantly like,
oh
oh, look,
yeah, we'll
there's so
stop.
much.
We'll get
Oh,
out.
there's what do you call it over
Yeah,
there. Oh, bloody hell, man. You know,
yeah,
my
yeah,
eyes will be popping
exactly.
out my
Oh,
head,
it'll
you
be
know.
a riot.
Oh,
Start
God, yeah.
saving. Start saving your money and get on over here.
Oh,
So,
yeah. Yeah, it's on the cards at some point, Bob. I tell you that. I keep dreaming about the idea. It's got to happen, you know. Yeah,
can
it's
you
got to
rob a
happen.
bank or something, or can you?
Oh,
I don't
well,
know,
I don't think I'd be
something. Get
fast.
some money.
I don't think I'd be a fast enough runner, really, mate. My legs not
Yeah,
very, my knees. Yeah. Uh,
it's expensive to travel. I know it is. It's a
oh
lot of
God.
money.
Well, it depends
Yeah,
it also depends what time of the year you go as well. I mean, if you go in the summer
yeah,
months, you're screwed. It's going to be really expensive. So you'd have
yes.
to avoid July and August. No point doing that. You know, because the fares double. Everything just goes rockets. Yeah.
If you came in
So
February during the Twin Peaks days, it would be,
yeah,
cheaper because in general, people coming for Twin Peaks Festival, it's February, so it would be
yeah,
reasonable. The only thing is it's colder.
yeah.
Another good time of year is like September, October. September, October is a
That's what I'm
good time
thinking. So
to.
where it's just sort of
Yeah,
just the right kind of climate. You're not into the winter yet, but you're not into the
yeah,
hot summer yet. Yeah, it's probably
yep,
the fall time's probably the best. You're probably right. Yeah, yeah.
yes.
All right then, Bob. Um, thanks again, and thank you guys for watching as well. I hope you enjoyed this, and we will be back soon with another show. So stay tuned, and until then, we'll see you in the trees.